here. Today we're going to get into some machinery, and the first machine we're going to talk about is the planer. The planer is one of the first machines used in the 7 steps to size a board, so I usually start with that. I'm going to go in the order of the 7 steps in the same order of the machines you would use them. Planer, also called a surfacer because it removes wood from the surface of your board. So some people refer it to as a surfacer, but we call it a planer. This planer is our 25-inch planer, 25 inches wide, so we can plane boards up to, we usually don't go much more than 24 inches. Okay? So we're going to start talking about the exterior parts on your handout that you can refer to. Number 1, A is your table. This is the table. Okay? That's what you're going to set the board on. Feed it into the machine. Okay? Number 2, B is the control panel. Right here's the control panel. I'll go in details on that in a minute. Number 3, C is the power switch. You turn it on, turn it off. It also has buttons here to adjust this up and down. We don't use them that often, but mainly I want you to know it's about the power switch. Number 4, D, is this wheel right here. This is the thickness adjustment wheel or table adjustment wheel. It's a manual adjustment. As you turn it, you'll move the table up and down. You'll see how that works later also. Now we'll get into the interior parts. The interior parts are right here on your study guide. You can't see them on here because they're inside the machine, but we will talk about them. So when you take a board and you put it into the planer, the first thing it's going to get to is the infeed roller. The infeed roller has little grooves on it to grab that board, grip that board, pull it into the machine. Next thing you get to is the chip breaker. The purpose of the chip breaker is to push down, keep that board flat against the table. And as you get to C, number 7, the cutter head, it will break off little chips and not let big chunks come out. So the chip breaker keeps pressure down, breaks off chips. Like I said, 7, C is your cutter head, and that's what removes material. We only remove 1/16 of an inch at a time. Then you get to number 8, the pressure bar. That's the purpose of the pressure bar is to keep the board flat down against the table after the cutter head, because if it goes up into it, you'll get a thinner board. So it keeps it flat against the table. And then number 9, E is your outfeed rollers. The outfeed rollers pull the board out of the machine. Okay, so infeed roller, chip breaker, cutter head, pressure bar, outfeed roller. All right, now we'll get to the control panel, a little more in detail. So on the back of your study guide, you have the control panel, looks like this. You enter the measurements in decimal form. So up here I have a conversion, taking our fractions and to decimal conversions. So if you wanted something 5/16, it would be 0.3125. So the way to use this is there's a 4-step process on your study guide, number 10. First step is you hit program. When you do that, this light up here will blink, tells you it's ready to accept the measurement. Second step, which is number 11 on your thing, is to put in the decimal measurement. So let's say we want a 1/2 inch. I would put 0.5. Then you have to hit enter. The button down here with the arrow in the corner, that tells the computer that you're done, and then the start button blinks, you hit start, and it will automatically move this table up to the thickness you want. We can also move this table by using these buttons. You can see that it's moving here. We can go back down like this. We can also move them by engaging this wheel here, and you can see it going down, or going up, and back down. So there's 3 ways you can adjust that table. We use the control panel the most. So now we'll get into the safety guidelines on the study guide here. Number 14 says check the board before you put it into any machine, but the planer we're talking about right now, to make sure it is free of imperfection, nails and knots. We don't want any metal in this, no screws, staples, nails. That will damage the cutter head. Knots, there's nothing wrong with planing a knot, but the knot may chip and break out. So depending on if you're using the whole board or just part of the board, that could be a problem. Okay, so check your board before you put it in. Number 15, always stand to one side or the other when planing. Don't stand directly behind the board. The board could get kicked back. You don't want to be in that kickback zone. If you're here waiting to use the machine, do not stand in that area either. So you put the board in like this, standing on this side, or come over here, put the board in, standing on that side, but do not stand behind the board. Number 16, never attempt to plane more than one thickness at a time. There's nothing wrong with putting two boards side by side and pushing them through. But if they're different thicknesses like this, the pressure is going to be on the thick one, the thin one could get kicked back. So we don't want to plane two different thicknesses at once. Plane the thickest one till it's the same thickness as this one. Number 17, never look into the planer. Don't put your head down here and look down in there. There's nothing to see. You're going to put your face in the danger zone. Chips get thrown back. The board can get thrown back. Very dangerous to do that. Number 18, make sure the board is longer than the distance between the feed rollers. So we talked about that, our in-feed roller and our out-feed roller. On this machine, it's 12 inches. We can't plane anything shorter than 12 inches. If you put an 8-inch board in here, it'll get fed in, it'll leave the in-feed roller, but it's not long enough for that out-feed roller to grab it and pull it out. So the board usually turns and gets messed up, ruins your piece of wood. Number 19, keep your hands and fingers away from the board once you put it into the machine. So you put it on here, you let go, don't mess with it, okay? If you put your hands in this area, you're in the danger zone. There's pinch points between the board and the front of this table. Between the table and the board, you got pinch points over here on the corner. Not good to have your hands in that area when using the planer. If a board sticks, you put a board in here. We lower the table a little bit. You put a board in here and it's going in and it just stops. It sticks. First thing you want to do, give a little bump left or right. That usually will allow it to go on through. If it doesn't, then you turn the machine off. You want to wait for that cutter head to stop. If the cutter head doesn't stop, and you lower the table, the board could still get kicked back. So turn the machine off, let the cutter head stop, then lower the table to take it out and see what's wrong. Okay? If you put it in here and it's on the table and it sticks, do not put your hands down here to twist it. Okay? That's in the danger zone. You can take another piece of wood and give it a little push to see if it'll go on through, or turn the machine off, wait for the cutter head to stop, lower the table, take the board out. So if you're planing really long boards, as you can see in the wood room, we got some really long boards there. You want to hold the ends up until you know they're feeding out the backside, and then you come around to the backside and you hold the board up as it feeds all the way out. If you don't, the weight of that board is going to cause the ends to go into the cutter head, and you'll get what's called a snipe on the end of your board. You want to stop the planer before making any adjustments. Okay? I'm the only one that will make adjustments on this machine. Students will not. The only adjustment you make is raising and lowering the table, which can be done while the machine is on because it is designed to do that. But any other adjustments would be made by me, and usually when the machine's off. We don't make adjustments when the machine is running. The exception on this one, raising and lowering that table. You also never want to pull on a board that's being planed. You put a board in here and it starts going in. You're like, oh no, when you try to pull it out, you're not going to pull it out. The machine is stronger than you. It's going to go on. Same thing with the back side. The board's coming out the back and you try to pull on it. You're not doing anything. You're going to get splinters in your hands. If it sticks, remember left or right, it'll usually come on through. Pulling does not do any good. So now I'm going to demonstrate how to actually plane a board. So we're going to plane this piece right here. A couple things I want you to notice is this board right now is 3/4 thick. We're going to plane it to a 1/2 inch thick. So the difference between 3/4 and 1/2 is 1/4, which is 4/16. So we have to run this board through the machine 4 times, removing a 1/16 at a time. We also want to keep the center of the board the center. Okay? If you remove more material off the top, you're going to expose moisture. Wood has moisture in it. Everything dries from the outside in, so there's more moisture in the center of this board than the outside. If you take all 1/4 inch off the top, you expose that moisture, your board could warp or twist as it's drying out. So we want to take equal amounts off both sides. So when I'm done, that pencil line should still be in the center of the board. Okay? So, another thing I do, you want to keep track of which sides you're done. Put a little mark on the boards. That way you can tell which ones you have plane and what you have. So, what I tell students when they start with this, a couple things. First thing is, you don't want to use this machine without the exhaust on. The exhaust will pull all the shavings and chips up through the system. If you use it without it, all the shavings come out here and you're going to have a mess to clean up. So the first thing we're going to do is turn the exhaust on. So the exhaust button is over here, is the top button. Turn it on, you'll hear it come on. Second thing is you want to know how thick the board is that you're starting with. So this one's 3/4. You can measure it to check, it's 3/4. So I want to set this machine at 3/4 because that's our starting point. So 3/4 is 0.75. So again, you go down here, you hit program, 0.75, enter, start. It'll automatically move the machine to that. Now, if we run this board through, is it going to cut anything off? No. But that's our starting point. So now we want to go a 1/16 at a time until we get to our measurement of a 1/2 inch. Okay? So if I look up here, I'm at 0.75, 3/4, so I want to go to 11/16, which is 0.6875. So, program, 0.6875, enter, start, and now we can process our board. Another thing you want to do is, you always want to put your best end in first. So I have a chip out of here, so I'm going to say this is my best end. So that's going to go in first. We're going to turn the machine on. Put the board standing to one side. We're going to go around the back side. The board is now 11/16 thick. We're going to go from our 11/16 to our 5/8, 0.625. Program, 0.625, enter, start. Again, best end in first. No pencil mark on this side because it took it off. So this side now. Put it in. Board is now 5/8 thick. Okay? Keep going. After 5/8, we have 9/16. 0.5625. Program, 0.5625. The 5 won't register, do it anyway. Enter, start. Now, we're going to mark both sides again. And again, we want to put the best side in first. Run it through. Now 9/16, we're going to run it to a 1/2. So a 1/2 on here, 16 below 9/16 is 1/2, 0.5. I hit program, 0.5, enter, start. Turn it over. And the best side in first. We're taking this board to a 1/2 inch thick. And if you notice, my pencil line's still in the center because we have taken off equal amounts on both sides. One last thing, when you turn the planer off, you just need to bump that switch, okay? If you push it in all the way, it's going to stick. And then you go to try to program it, and you want to change this, and it's not going to let you because you have the emergency stop pushed in all the way. So if you come to use the planer and it's not working, before you come and get me, check this. Just twist it until it pops back out, and then you should be able to make it work. Okay? So that's the planer. Review your study guide, and we'll go from there. So, newbie out.